What's up FNGs, this is The.Gear.Locker, and welcome to my after-action report of Broken Arrow Events Field Infantry Training. Normally I do these kinds of videos after the big August event, however I enjoyed this event so much that I feel like you guys might like to get a taste of what it's all about. So while I didn't get nearly as many photos or videos for this particular AAR that I would have liked or should have, please sit back and enjoy this as more of a podcast, although if you are watching, I'll throw some stuff up on screen once in a while. This event took place on Old Bethpage Village Restoration on Long Island. It's about a 2.5 hour drive for me, but with traffic it ended up taking closer to 4 hours after I made a couple stops. I ended up bringing just a very basic bare bones setup, meaning I had all of my essentials as a GI, but none of the fancy add-ons that I like to bring to the August events. What I mean by that is I had my cot, I had my footlocker, I had a few sets of uniforms, I had all the white t-shirts, I had the helmet, the rifle, those kinds of basic bare necessities, as well as my rucksack, web gear, and of course, my field infantry training sweatshirt. I brought roughly 5.5 gallons of water, which was way more than enough. I definitely didn't need that many, but it was great to be able to share with some of the new guys and some friends alike. So I arrived at about 6:45 p.m. The 6 guys that were already there, including myself, decided to put up that GP medium that most of the guys would be living in for the weekend. It didn't take long, especially because a lot of the guys had done this many times before, but that was a very smooth process, and honestly, it really kicked off the Namsoft season. For some reason, I loved putting up that tent. So if you're anything like me, make sure you get there really early for the August event, because we'll be putting up quite a few tents. And that being said, I do want to give a huge shout out to Randy Diamond. I'm going to reference him a few times during this video, but he was one of the guys that showed up really early. In fact, he was there earlier than I was, and he's a top tier dude regardless, but he was great to enjoy this event with. Once the tent was up, the event really kicked off in a very relaxing, smooth Friday night. Support company showed up, some other guys showed up, and we spent that night really just getting to know some of the other people there, talking with the staff, hanging out with them, and just getting ready for the operations, training operations that would partake the following 2 days. So Saturday morning, we woke up, had muffins for breakfast, and immediately we got into formation. Jeremy Vallon, one of the members with military experience, gave us a long lesson on formation and how we would practice formation, how we would move and rotate, and all the things relating to formation. I apologize if I'm butchering any terms. I thought that lesson was really cool, especially because it was just all in practice. We kept doing it and doing it and doing it, and that was kind of a team bonding thing. I enjoyed doing that with the peers next to me, but that was a cool thing. Very well done from Jeremy Vallon. We worked a little bit on movement and cadence, which I thought was really cool, and something that, while we always need more work on, was able to get us a step ahead of the guys that are just going to the August events. After that, probably one of my favorite parts of the event was the ruck march with Strassi. So the Jeep rolled ahead of us with all of the officers, and we rucked behind it. Our rucks were not too bad, not too heavy, although we'll get into some more rucksack stuff later. But that was a really cool, about 1.5 mile march that we did with fully loaded gear, everything all included. And Strassi was calling out cadence during it. I was yelling it right back in response, and I thoroughly enjoyed that. I definitely do know I need to make sure I take longer steps like Strassi does, but either way, that was a ton of fun. And actually, here's a quick clip of that now.
There's the drive a Cadillac, there's the drive a Cadillac, now a humping stupid pack, now a humping stupid pack. Oh, 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 oh.
So after we made our 1.5 mile ruck, we returned back to base, and we had grilled cheese and tomato soup, all provided by event staff, which was really cool. I thoroughly enjoyed that. The following classes were not as movement heavy, but still just as important. The first one was given by Captain Walker himself, and that was a whole bunch of acronyms and really important things to know just while you're on the field, and especially if you're in any kind of position where you're going to be guiding new people, or if you're a new person yourself. Some of them included like PCC, PCI, what those kinds of things are. SILs while you're on patrol. Lace reports are really important, especially because this upcoming year, we're going to be separate from the main base. There's no returning to base throughout the event until the operation or patrol is over. We talked about the 5 S's, ACOCA, and just kind of general ideas and tips for the upcoming events and just how you follow through with the event in a very realistic fashion. But after that one, we rotated gears and everyone took out their rucksacks and met with Joe Sabia, who did the rucksack revision class. It's just kind of what I'm calling it. We spent a good 30 minutes to an hour talking all about the rucksack setups that we have, talking about high mount, low mount, how to set up your rucksack, what you need in it, what you need on it, as well as some shake tests. So we taped up gear, we strung things a little bit tighter just to get everyone's rucksack not only in a silent form, but a very comfortable form, because as Joe says, a tight ruck is a light ruck. And then afterwards, he gave us a breakdown of his rucksack, and I learned a lot from that, actually. So while I am typically pretty good with my rucksack and all the setups, I actually have a couple videos on this channel that I've already done with it. I really got a taste of what the platoon daddy would need to have in his rucksack. So while I'm not in that level of command, I will be at least assistant squad leader in this upcoming event. So some of the things that he has in his rucksack are really things that I should start carrying in my rucksack too. Things that would allow other people to be a little bit more comfortable if they had forgotten them. And I'm really proud we got Ferrucci's rucksack going from all jangly with all the ammunition in it to very silent. It was really cool, but that was a really good class, especially for the people who were new and still trying to figure out how their rucksacks were all put together. So after the rucksack revision class, Major Lennon, Captain Wachter, and Chief Warrant Officer Sullivan ran us through our paces. They made us drag our faces through freshly cut grass, and oh boy, we did crawl drills. So we did low crawl, we did high crawl, and those were surprisingly a lot tougher than it seems, especially because I personally have never even done a low crawl. I never even knew what that was. I thought crawling was low crawl, like on your belly, but apparently that was high crawl. So I learned quite a bit in that, as well as rushing targets too. I'm up, they see me, I'm down, things like that, to be a little bit more effective while out in a combat situation. After that, we did a bit of a smaller patrol. No rucksacks for this one, but to practice and put into practice some of those things that we had learned in that morning. And in that small patrol, we also did bounding and movement, how we would move over open areas. So all things that, while you can maybe hear about and say, oh yeah, I know how to do that, putting it into practice is a whole different ballgame. And that's really where the value of this event was in terms of training purposes. We came back and we had dinner, which dinner was pasta and sauce and meatballs, which was pretty good. Once again, provided by event staff, which I think is a cool thing that the event does. I mean, you're getting a really good value, especially because you're getting a couple meals provided. In fact, thinking about it, all of Saturday's meals were technically provided, which is really cool. After that, the band performed, which, as you guys may know, I'm part of the Broken Arrows, which is the premier 1960s cover band for Broken Arrow events, and it's a really cool thing that we do. We've been practicing a whole bunch. So through the technical difficulties, we made it to this one to do our second performance, and here's a quick show of what that looked like. We've got a whole lot more coming up for Dragon's Back and future events, so stay tuned. If you want to catch us live, which you probably should because we don't do any recording, check us out at the next event. So after that, the band cleaned up, the troops returned to base, and we got ready for a history lesson. So Captain Wachter gave a lesson about where the 173rd Airborne was prior to the upcoming event, which was Dragon's Back, which was early 1968. So basically all throughout 1967, as well as just kind of a showcase of what kinds of things were happening during 1967, which was really cool. I appreciated his last one that he did at Junction City 2. This one was no different in that it was a full historical lesson, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, being a little bit of a history nerd, which I think we all kind of are. After that, we watched a movie, which for the life of me, I can't remember what it was. It was some 60s movie with troglodytes and caves and Oonga Boongas, which I think was really fitting for Ferrucci and myself. But yeah, that was fun. We didn't end up finishing that movie because it got really late. We had to get up early the next morning, but that was the conclusion of Saturday. One of the things I appreciate about Old Bethpage Village restoration, especially for FIT, was that there were bathrooms on site, which was really nice. I definitely made use of it. Something was not sitting well with me, the acid reflux, so I think it was the tomato. Regardless, staff like Jeremy Vallon, the doc, had Tums and all that, so small thing, but I appreciated the location and that venue, having that kind of facility. So we woke up bright and early the next morning, and we had breakfast, They had a ton of vehicles out and running for a World War II reenactment at a nearby field on the restoration site. So while that whole reenactment was going on in a separate part of the restoration site, Captain Walker took us on a patrol to set up an ambush, which was really cool. So we patrolled to a highway spot, which we knew that they would be kind of crossing. And we set up an ambush. I had myself and Wiki on the far end. There was a machine gun emplacement. There was a machine gun emplacement watching rear security. We actually were able to watch all those vehicles roll right on by. I think we got noticed twice. That's my kind of assumption. One was by Major Lennon himself, so whether he knew or not that we were out there, doesn't matter, but he has a keen eye anyway. And then I think one of the participants noticed us. Not 100% sure, though. We'll let you be the judge of that. Here's a video from Randy Diamond. After that, Randy Diamond led us back to base on a patrol, and we concluded the event with an Endex from Captain Walker. We talked a little bit about how the event kind of went overall, some of the really important things that we should take away, and what our responsibility is now that we have this new knowledge and new practice under our belts. So with this experience, we're now able to not only be more effective personally at upcoming events such as Dragon's Back, but we're able to extend that knowledge beyond to our peers. And with the Endex of the event, I wanted to give some personal opinions about how I thought field infantry training went and what my opinions are on it moving forward. First things first, I regret not going to field infantry training earlier. Now, I know I'm on base staff and that may sound like I'm just kind of pushing it, but truthfully, not at all. I thoroughly enjoyed this event because I got to hang out with people that do the same thing that I love to do. But the things that I learned, even having been to 2 events prior to this, as well as multiple Milsim Wests, it wasn't comparable. I learned some things and was able to practice some things in an environment where I know I wasn't going to get shot at and it wasn't like the event. I was actually able to train and work on these things and work with my friends on it. And that made us not only a better fighting force per se, but it was team bonding, and I thoroughly enjoyed that aspect of it. So with all that being said, I definitely wish I had gone much earlier. Now, moving forward with this event, even though I already know kind of the stuff that goes on and stuff that happened at this field infantry training, I'm not sure what's going to happen next one. And just being able to practice and keep those things kind of going is really important to be effective as an assistant squad leader, a squad leader, or even an E2 or E3 in these events. This kind of information is vital to keep practicing and to share and to be able to know so well that you can teach other people who just show up at Dragon's Back or future August events. It's an event that I am 100% going to keep going to year upon year because, again, I enjoyed being with the people that I am friends with, and I enjoyed learning and gaining some knowledge that I wouldn't get to put into practice otherwise. So all in all, I hope you guys enjoyed this little AAR of Broken Arrow Events Field Infantry Training. I hope to see you guys at the July Mike Force event as well as the August Dragon's Back this year. Thank you guys so much for checking out this video. Make sure you get your tickets for those events, and we'll see you in the next one.